Call of the Void contains strong language and possible trigger warnings and is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, I'm Deacon.
Hi, I'm Jack.
And welcome to Call of the Void, a podcast about all things weird and macabre. This week, we have a really special episode and a very special guest.
I am excited.
Do you want to say hello?
Hello.
It is our good friend, theBATCLAM. Mm-hmm. She is joining us for an episode. The very special occasion is we have recorded a year's worth of episodes.
Yes.
We do this little show like bi-weekly, and we're on episode 26, so we're halfway. Like we've hit the halfway of a year, so we're good. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so our first guest ever.
Yes.
That's me.
It's Ferret Mom.
No, it's great. I'm very proud of both of you. You've done a really good job. I mean, this is, I don't know what number episode this is, but I know at the time you have 25 episodes, so that puts you at basically 2 episodes a month, so that's really good.
Yeah, so this will be episode 26.
Okay, I didn't want to assume.
This will be our year of episodes.
It's fine. Yeah. We've assumed a lot of things on this show and been wrong about, like, oh, this will be our next episode, and then it's like 2 months later when it goes out.
Yeah.
I mean,
we also assumed that Bigfoot was bullshit, and apparently everybody keeps making goddamn fucking Funko Pops, and
it's a pride Yeti.
And movies.
Yes.
And movies. I'm very upset. I'm very salty.
Well, you know, that is the Fierce Ferret motto, is to stay salty.
I mean, listen, all I'm saying is, like, I know we're trying to get the Illuminati to sponsor us, but I think that Bigfoot should try to sponsor us if he wants to prove he's real. He won't.
The Fierce Ferrets do not condone Illuminati sponsorship.
I want that Illuminati sponsorship. What are you
talking about? Other than the Illuminati, the only other thing that would make incredible sense would be Monster Energy. So Monster Energy, I love you. If you would like to support us in any way, that would be appreciated.
I will also take I'll take the Beetlejuice musical or anything Beetlejuice as a sponsor. Y'all can just pay me and I'll talk about you.
I mean, let's be real, you'll talk about it even if they don't pay us.
That's fair. Anyway. But yeah, welcome to our crazy little show, where we talk about all kinds of weird shit. We're very excited to have you on, and we wanted to talk to you a little bit about your haunted as fuck house and
some other stuff.
Oh yeah, the house that you could literally look at it and go, yep, that's haunted.
Yep.
That house right there, that's a haunted one.
Also, quick bit of trivia, when Deacon first came up with the idea for the podcast, his first idea was that it would be the three of us hosting, and then, like, Jen is just so crazy busy that it was like, yeah, that's not gonna work out. So
yeah, well,
I mean, I loved that I was gonna be included.
Yes.
Yeah, I asked Jack about it. We were like, I was like, I really want to have like a podcast with the three of us, and then we started talking about it more, and we were like, nah, Jen's like super busy.
Yeah,
it's that
like,
damn starving artist lifestyle.
I know, right? But I think what makes it even better is, like, this was during like the Kickstarter stuff.
Yeah.
So like you were like even more busy than normal, like super stressed out, and it was like, we really can't.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, we were like, we can't bother her with this.
I mean, you guys have done so good though. Like you didn't need me. Look at this show. It's great. It's wonderful. And then
We
I get to
always
listen to
need
it.
Jen.
But, anyway.
Yeah.
So, I think first off, both of us kind of wanted to talk about some things. Like, I didn't necessarily have, like, really any things that happened while I was up there.
Yeah. I had two experiences in that house. One of which I've talked about, the other one of which I've always been like, oh, I'll save it for when it's relevant on the show, and then it just never happened, so now it's pretty relevant. So I never told you this, Jen, but the last time I was there, it was for Luke's party, and my brother and I, like, were in the room that we stay in, and, like, a lot of times, like, we can't sleep unless there's some kind of, like, a TV on or a source of light, so, like, we had the light on, and I'm trying to get to sleep, and through my closed eyes, I saw the light getting brighter, so I started to get, like, a little nervous, like, oh no, because, like, I know that light bulbs sometimes do that when they're about to burst and go dead. So I was like, oh no, like, the light's gonna go out. I feel so bad, like, for keeping it on. So,
light bulbs are very expensive and definitely wallet breaking.
I know, but you know me, I feel bad for everything. So it started to do that, so I opened my eyes, and I'm watching it kind of get brighter and brighter, but it doesn't burst or anything, and then it just dims back down to what it was. So it's like, oh, okay, good. And I close my eyes to try to go to sleep again, and that's when the bed starts violently shaking. So, here's the thing, like, Deacon, we've had that joke that if we ever get lucky enough to get to a point where we have the funding to go explore places, we have that joke that, like, I'm gonna need one of those, like, child leashes because I'm gonna try to run away. But I gotta tell you, based on my two very scary experiences, I'm barely even flinching because my response was, oh, this is happening now, but I'm tired. I'm just gonna try. Yeah, like, my response to a bed violently shaking was, oh, I'm too tired to deal with this. So maybe I'll be okay.
When I was there, I just kind of felt like I was being watched the whole time, and then you had that thing that you talked about a little bit before, that, like, you, as you guys were pulling into the driveway, you saw that, like, it looked like somebody was looking out the window, and you thought it was me, and I was like, nope, wasn't me.
Yeah.
I've been in here the whole time.
Well, I'm gonna chalk that up to it being Jen's dad, but, like, the reason why I thought
the way
it was
you described it does not sound like Jen's dad, though.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, the person I saw, like, when I came in and said hello to your dad, he wasn't wearing the same clothes as the person I had just seen, and also the person I had just seen had, like, facial hair. Which your dad does not.
I realize I should input more. It's weird because I listen to your podcast, so I'm listening to you talk like it's your podcast, and I'm like, wait, I'm actually supposed to be participating though.
You're fine.
To be fair, we're on our bullshit and we haven't asked you anything yet.
No, so. It's fine.
Yeah.
I was actually waiting for your story to be over, but then Deacon chimed in, so I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Which
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Like, the feeling like you're watched is the most normal experience most people have. It's actually very specifically in 3 parts of the house that apparently you feel it the most.
Yeah.
I mean, I was told that, like, the bedroom that I was staying in was, like, really creepy, and I was like, I don't feel
okay.
it. Like, it's
Luke
fine.
told you it was really creepy, and I'm not going to dismiss Luke's feelings, but, like, I don't feel creeped out in there either, but, like, I've also always been, I guess, I don't know, so my aunt's always lived in that half, so, like, it's just always been, like, my aunt's half. Also, it's the newer half of the house, which I'll get into, so it's, like, I've never felt creeped out over there personally. I mean, I guess apart from the Ouija board incident, which I will also get into later.
Yes, because, like, I think we mentioned it on the show, but, like, we weren't there to experience it.
It was in passing, yeah.
Yeah, it was in passing just based on what you told us, so I would love to hear from your perspective how that happened.
Well, it's funny because we were live streaming when it happened. And it was my birthday. It was my birthday, and we were live streaming, so really it was just...
I mean, the funniest part, whenever I was up there, was literally you coming upstairs and being like, I'm pretty sure I just saw somebody in the basement. Okay, whatever.
Oh, yeah, when we were doing the Valentine's Day stream, and, like, your fear wasn't funny, but what was funny was the fact that you were like, so, I'm pretty sure somebody just passed me by in the basement, so the basement might be haunted, but I'm gonna say it's not.
Well, because because the skeptic in me is like, you're drinking, Jen. Like, you're surrounded by people who say your house is haunted. So, like, really, after a point, what's gonna happen? You're gonna think scary ghost things happen.
I mean, still, like, the first experience I ever had in the house, I think the funniest thing about it, other than my response to a voice I had never heard before, just out of literally nowhere going, hello, how are you, was for me to just stop dead in my tracks and just be like, I'm okay, was the fact that, like, when I came back up the stairs, as I'm walking back to the room, I randomly hear Luke, and I don't know how this conversation started because I wasn't in the room at the time, but I randomly hear Luke go, I'm pretty sure this house is haunted.
Oh boy. I mean, accurate. That's basically an accurate scenario. Spoopy thing might happen, and then someone's like, by the way, think it's haunted. It's like, That's
how
voice has been dead for 10 years.
Maybe the real haunted was the friends we made along the way. Anyway,
that's one of my favorite jokes.
Anyway, so would you like to tell us some of the stuff that has happened to you in your home?
I mean, nothing's really happened. Okay. So, I know you two
just mentioned the Ouija board.
Right, but I mean, like, I've lived here my whole life, right? Short version is my parents are separated, so it's my father's house. So, I would live here on weekends. Like, that was just the arrangement. They got separated when I was a baby, so that was just, my entire life was weekends at Dad's. So, like, I've lived here, like, my whole life. I'm gonna be 30 this year, right? So it's like, I mean, yes, there was the Ouija board incident, which I am gonna talk about because it's hilarious. But apart from that, which any Haunting of Hill House fans will actually appreciate this, because apparently ghost things have happened to me that I was not aware of. Which I'll keep as unspoilery as possible, but there's I guess I really can't. There's only one skeptic in Haunting of Hill House, but the skeptic in Haunting of Hill House discovers he has actually seen a ghost without realizing it, right?
Yeah.
So, and anyone who enjoys the show will laugh at this, because I've basically gone through exactly what this character went through, apparently. Only instead of seeing a ghost, apparently I've been hearing one. So, every night, like around midnight, we have this old grandfather clock. So every night, I'd hear it go off. It would just be the thing it did. I'd know I had stayed up too late. That was just the sound that was. Cool, whatever. I obviously never thought anything. It was an old grandfather clock. It's just in the living room. It's whatever. My brother heard it too. And we're discussing it because we actually started talking about the house because of Deacon's visit, I think it was. My dad and I, we were all talking about it because I was like, yeah, they love the house because it's, like, haunted. Because my dad's in the same boat where he's like, I mean, I don't think it is, but if it is, they're friendly, I'm guessing. So, we're talking about it, and I forget how the clock comes up. But my dad's like, no, the thing's been broken, like, since long before you were born. It doesn't work. It doesn't go off. So my brother and I just kind of, so we just kind of looked at each other like, okay. But it does. It's been going off our entire lives at, like, midnight because it's annoying ass old grandfather clock. And he's like, no, it's been broken. I don't know what you're talking about. So whatever that means, I don't know if clocks can be ghosts. I don't know if clock enthusiast ghosts are ringing it, but apparently there are ghost clock ringing noises I heard throughout my childhood.
Now,
It's Cogsworth.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. You said that it's confirmed that 3 different people died on the property?
Oh, yeah.
Or...
Well, I didn't know when you wanted to get into the history of the house, but yes, as far as I know, at the very least 3 people have died in this house, yes.
Yeah.
The house started, it was originally a one-room cabin. So, our living room and the floor above it and the basement, it was a cabin. And there is actually paintings of it because apparently a lot of artists of the family, my aunts, would paint the house. So there's actually paintings of the house, or whoever lived here painted it. I don't know, there's paintings of this one-room cabin literally everywhere in this house. So many people have painted it. So, my grandfather, and this is going to make all the millennials and Gen Z cry, but my grandfather, I know this is an old saying, came over on the boat from Italy and bought this house. It's an acre and a half of land. It is a huge amount of land. It's a crazy amount of land that we don't need. But he bought it with the cabin for $3,000 in his day, which in today's currency with inflation, he got an entire acre and a half of land and a one-room cabin for $30,000.
Yeah, wow.
Are you for real?
I'm 100% for real, yes.
I hate the old days.
I know. So, and at the time he bought it, he was told it was very old. We're constantly throwing around the number 300, but I've been being told this house is 300 years old even 20 years ago. So it's some old amount of years.
Yeah.
So, and you look at it, you can tell, again, like, you see our house on the block, it looks haunted, because the only thing that's been done to this one-room cabin is a bunch of rooms were built around it. So you can still see the inspiration of the one-room cabin.
Like the fucking Winchester house.
Right, it's a Franken house.
Oh my god, you have your own mini Winchester mansion.
No, it's a great comparison. It's basically like poor man's Winchester house, because we've got doors that don't make sense, we have hallways that don't need to be there.
I didn't even think about that till literally right now, in your house
Me
is
neither.
exactly the Winchester.
I'm a little pissed that we didn't think of this earlier.
Like,
Oh, that's
I don't want to
perfect.
insult my grandfather, but because he's the one who built all the side rooms around it, but it really is just a shoddy house. Like, my husband makes a joke that was made for little people because, I'm like 5 foot and it's perfect for me, but anyone bigger than me and it must be obnoxious.
Yeah.
Everything's thin and narrow, and actually, again, the skeptic in me, the parts of the house where people quote-unquote feel the most uncomfortable, like there's like a presence, I personally chalk up to how narrow and winding and uncomfortable just those parts of the house were made, personally. Like, if you're claustrophobic, the hallway where, like, the bathroom and the laundry room are, like, it's so tiny. It is a tiny space you have to, like, maneuver through.
But me personally, there are 2 places definitively that I've felt something in. Obviously, the 2 rooms where I've had experiences, which would be the basement and the laundry room. And what's funny is, like, I remember a long while ago, Luke told us that he had an experience where he saw, like, he was pulling into the driveway and he saw a woman just standing there who, like, vanished or something.
She walked by the car.
Yeah, she walked by the car. And it took me, like, after he told us that story, I think I was there, like, 2 more times before I realized that the laundry room where I stay when I come to visit overlooks the driveway.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't put 2 and 2 together. And... What?
Oh, no, continue. I thought you were done, so go ahead.
Yeah. No, like, I was just saying, like, so those are really the only 2 places. And just, the little, like, where the beer fridge is sometimes. Yeah. But that I just chalk up to, I'm afraid of, like, tripping or whatever, because it's super dark in there until you open the lights on and everything like that. So, Like,
and there's a small lip in the floor.
Right. The house is also, for some reason, you step up and down many times around, like, again, like the Winchester house, it makes no sense. In the floor. Yeah. There's several just steps, like you step up here, you step down here, you step up here. No one knows why. You just do.
There were a bunch of times where I almost, like, ate shit.
Yeah.
And I'm somebody who is, like, and I've said this on here before, my joke with Deacon when we first started the show was, you know, I feel like the people that actually have read my work and listen to this because of that are gonna think I'm this brooding person, when in reality I'm just gonna be like, I trip putting my pants on in the morning. I'm that person, so put me in that kind of an environment where I can easily trip over more than just my 2 feet.
Yeah, so what's interesting about, like, the layout as well is what is now, like, the entrance from the living room to the kitchen. That actually used to be a fireplace, which is why it's so weirdly shaped, I guess. Because that's what the fireplace used to be. It was moved. But I think the area that leads over to where, like, the laundry room is and Luke's other ghost, I think that used to be, like, a door out of it, but I'm not 100% certain. But I think that used to be, like, a doorway outside. So I always found that interesting, since ghosts apparently are there, and it's like, oh, it's like they're leaving the house, 'cause ghost reasons. I have no idea. I want to clear something up. Like, I genuinely enjoy ghost stories, and I think ghosts are real. I'm just incredibly skeptical about it, which I know is a common phrase, but 9 out of 10 times I really don't.
Well, no, I mean, like, it's, like, one of the things that I always say, and you're a big BuzzFeed Unsolved fan yourself, you're the one that got me into it, like, in those kinds of terms, like, I always say, like, I couldn't really tell you if I was a Shaniac or a Gara, because clearly I believe that this stuff exists, but at the same time, like, I like to look at things objectively and skeptically, and, like, if I can recreate something or figure out, like, oh, well, you know, this could be done, like, if I shined a light over here, so I don't think, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't, as much as I believe in this stuff, and as much as I absolutely believe I've had experiences, and I think that, you know, the things that happen to me are pretty definitive, I like to look at things skeptically at first, because, like, if you go into a situation without any sort of skepticism, anything can be evidence.
Oh, yeah. Which, actually, I'm just reminded that something else scary happened to us recently that actually had me turning my head, which
Ooh.
I will get... Yeah, like, I was about to bring up how, like, I've got 2 instances to talk about, but it's actually I have 3. 2.5. We'll go with 2.5, actually. So, which I'm fascinated that the bed shook for you. That's definitely a new one. I've never heard of objects moving. That's a first. Like, objects disappear, but objects disappear for everyone in every house. Yeah. So, like, we've had things vanish. It's whatever.
It's the collector goblins.
Exactly.
They're the ones who steal your socks.
I thought that was the underpants gnomes. Or is that not cool anymore? Is that not cool anymore?
Listen, ghosts I can deal with. The second gnomes.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Sorry. My bad.
It's fine.
I didn't know. Should I talk about the stories now? I didn't know when I should segue into that. Okay.
Go for it. Whatever you want to do.
Well, listen, you're the host, and I'm gonna follow your lead.
Yeah.
I am but a simple fan / ferret / bat / team member.
Yes.
Yeah.
You did it.
I did it. I conquered it all. So, there's an incident I want to bring. I shouldn't call it an incident. I feel like I'm lying, but what's funny, and I feel like led to a lot of my skepticism today, is when I was a kid. So this house is a million years old, as I've mentioned. And I had a room. The what you guys know is like the beer room used to be my bedroom, actually. When I was a kid, I had a bed in there. It was actually a functional bedroom. There was dressers. I know, it's crazy to think about. Because now it looks like a giant disaster. And the reason it looks like a giant disaster is because when I was younger, I was hanging out in my room and just watching TV. I think I was watching Invader Zim. And then there was this loud crash behind me, and I panic mode because the roof literally collapsed behind me. Yeah! So the roof collapsed behind me, and I ran out. And it took like 2 weeks to fix, so for like 2 weeks, I actually, when I came over the weekend, I had to sleep in my dad's room. So, because my dad's his room upstairs, which upstairs, you think the laundry room is uneasy? The upstairs, way more uneasy. I feel incredibly nervous upstairs, but it's mostly because it's part of the one-room cabin, and I'm pretty sure it's just going to collapse at some point. So
I was up there once.
Yeah.
It was like the first time I was at that house, and I was told to just use the bathroom up there because somebody was in the bathroom downstairs. And that was the only time I was ever up there.
Yeah, it's not a fun time. So, but I was a kid at this point. I was 13, I want to say. 13, 14. So I was fearless, you know. I still had hopes and dreams. So I'm sleeping upstairs. And, I actually should preface, one of the 3 people who passed in this house was actually my grandfather. He had a heart attack and my father found him. So, right. So, you know, I'm turning in upstairs for the first time sleeping up there, and my dad, you know, says, "Oh, good night, and if you hear from Grandpa, say hi." And I'm like, haha, that's weird, but okay. So, so I go upstairs and I crash, and like, I can't really sleep because it's so freaking weird up there. And then, all of a sudden, I noticed the door is opening. So I'm staring at this door, and it like, sways open. Because at first I was like, maybe his dad's coming up to grab something from his room. But no one's there. And then it sways closed. And it does this several times throughout the night. I don't sleep. I don't sleep at all. So I go downstairs the next day, and I sit down for every Sunday morning. My dad, when I was a kid, would make us pancakes. So I sit down for pancakes. Oh no, what did I do on Saturday? Did he do Saturday pancakes? I guess... No! My room fell on a Saturday, so it was Sunday. Sorry, I had to think about that. For some reason, I had to think about that. So it's Sunday, I sit down for pancakes, he's cooking, and I'm just like, Dad, I think Grandpa was sending me a message. Like, I'm just like, this doorman, like, it just, does he do that? Is that just a thing? Why have you never told me? And he just, like, looks at me, and he starts laughing. And he's like, no, the house is not haunted. The floor upstairs is uneven. It just does that. I was just fucking with you. Like... So, and that was when I learned about pareidolia. That was my first experience with pareidolia. Which again, I feel like really is why I'm so skeptical, because I always think about that incident. I don't even know if my dad remembers it, because I don't think to him it was Tuesday. You know, I don't know if he doesn't...
Yes! Bless!
So I think, I don't know if that's the reason why I don't notice anything that happens, I don't care. But on to the real incidents. My first real incident was this Ouija board incident. So it's my birthday, and we're streaming. It's Friday night. I'm really excited. I don't know if it was the day before my birthday, but whatever it was, we were celebrating my birthday. One of our fans bought us Grand Theft Auto to play online. So we were playing that. Which, by the way, oh my god, slow build-up to be able to play online. Slow build-up. But we did it, and we started doing some heists, because, like, your first... I don't want to get too much into it, but your first introduction to GTA Online, like, let us get to the group heists immediately. You're killing me. Anyway, so we're playing GTA, we finally get to these heists, we're doing our first one. We're terrible at it, because you have to fly a helicopter, so I keep crashing this helicopter, because I should not be allowed to drive anything. So I've crashed this helicopter for the 3rd time, and everyone else is still alive, so I'm dead. So I'm like, I'm just gonna use the bathroom while I just sit in the ocean and die from crashing this helicopter. And I go upstairs, and I had been drinking. Okay. So, short version, because I had mentioned earlier how it's like it was my aunt's half of the house, but she's away taking my grandmother right now, so it's just us living this half. So I walk into her room, because right next to her room is a bathroom. And I decide, well, this bathroom's closer. I'll get in and get out, because the other bathroom's a little further away. Not by much, but this is drunk logic, Jen. So I'm walking in there, and all of a sudden, I slip, fall on my butt, crash my head into the ground. I'm like, and this room's carpeted. So suddenly there's a slippery surface I've encountered where I crash and I bonk my head into the dresser next to me where the TV is. So I'm sitting there a little freaked out, because I don't know what is on the floor that just did this to me. And my head's killing me, because I just whacked it into... She has this little TV stand I just whacked it into.
Yeah.
So I'm calling for Luke, which our stream setup's right downstairs, so he was able to hear me. Because I'm like... I don't remember what I said exactly, because I'm pretty sure I reached down and picked this thing up, and I'm pretty sure I yelled, like, Luke, a Ouija board just attacked me. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what I yelled at him. Where I'm like, Luke, and he's like, what? And I'm like, come up here. And I'm holding the thing to him, and I'm freaked out by this point, and I will explain to you why. So I've never used this Ouija board. This Ouija board has been in our house, or had been in our house since I was a child. We always joked about using it, because way over on my dad's half of the house in the living room is a windowsill. And in front of this windowsill is where this Ouija board has sat. No planchette, it just sat there like a weird decoration in this old spooky house, because of course, it just sat there my entire life. I'd always walk by it and think, like, one day I'll mess with that, because I was a dumb kid. Never did. But it just always sat there my entire life. It just sat in front of this window. I just knew it as the decoration in front of the window. And, like, I've never really looked at the window for the last couple of years. So I guess at some point, I guess it had moved, because it wasn't there. I freaked out at this Ouija board tripping me up. Like, I was really freaked out over this. More than I'd ever been freaked out about anything. But I actually walked over, I woke my dad up trying to look at the windowsill and see if it was still there. Or, like, if there was a dust outline of it once being there. Which I guess he had moved at some point, because now there's a bunch of tech equipment sitting on that windowsill, but I tried asking him if he knew why it was over in this half of the house, if, like, my Aunt Gina had taken it for reasons, and he had no answers, and she hasn't been here, so obviously, I haven't been able to ask her, but somehow it ended up on the floor in the middle of her room, even though there was no surface for it to really fall down from. Like, her bedroom consists of a bed, a TV stand, which is just a block of wood with a TV on it. Like, there's nothing on this thing. And one of those little plastic drawer things you can buy at Target. Yes. So one of those. Those are the three things around the area where this Ouija board was just sitting. So I have no idea how it got there. It's still weird to me. But I will say, my dad did get rid of it, and it hasn't come back. So,
it hasn't come back.
Well, people are always like, oh, I tried burning it, and it wouldn't burn, and I threw it out, and it came back and it didn't do that. So sorry to disappoint the Ouija board fans. It didn't come back. It is gone. Yet.
It's biding its time.
I wonder if I'm going to find the planchette, because, like, as far as I know, only the board was thrown out. I don't know if the planchette's waiting to, like, be a throwing star at me. So for my birthday, I slipped on a Ouija board.
Oh, no.
And then,
now that you're talking about it, the planchette's just gonna appear tonight, and you're gonna be like, what the fuck?
I'll definitely let you know if it appears tonight.
Please do.
I will. So that was, like, that was to me the most panicked I've ever felt about anything in this house, next to the roof collapsing on me. Or behind me. But the final incident that happened, much less, anticlimactic, I guess. Like, it wasn't anything too intense, it was just very weird, because it involved both me and Luke it happened to.
Mm-hmm.
We were laying in bed, and our bed is up against a wall, and behind us there is a hallway, and it's a pretty thin hallway, which will be important later, where my skeptic brain comes in, but we're laying in bed, and we were trying to go to sleep, or we were talking about something. We were winding down, but all of a sudden, I don't want to say we were fighting. We were kind of arguing about something. I don't remember what, because what happened was, the next thing I know, behind my head, which Luke is taller than me, so, like, I'm we're both facing the same direction. My head is kind of like against his back, I want to say. So kind of above my head where his mouth would be if we were facing each other, or like where his head is. All of a sudden I just hear a shh. Like I'm being shushed.
Huh.
And Luke turns and he's like, "Why are you shushing me?" And I'm like, that came from, like, way over there. How am I shushing? Like, no, I thought you were shushing me. And he's like, yeah, that did come from the wall. And so we kind of look, and I'm like, and so he's more freaked out than me at this point, where he's like, what is shushing us? But I'm like, I mean, it's a thin wall. Like, did one of the cats do something? Like, their litter box? But no, their litter box is, like, way over to our right. So it wouldn't be anything with the litter box. I don't know. Like, I try to think about if something was over there shushing. But I remember we ended up searching the house because we got really freaked out. Mostly because yesterday, when a friend left the house, he left one of the doors open. So at first we were really worried someone, because we didn't notice it had been open, like, all night. So at first we were worried, like, someone snuck in our house. But it was just, like, really weird, because it sounded like it came from literally, like, I don't want to say above us, but definitely, like, by our head area, but, like, behind us.
Mm-hmm.
It was very weird. But apparently the ghosts are shushing us and tripping us with Ouija boards. And, ringing clocks, and that's my house.
I mean, also, it totally looks like the house from Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
It does.
I talk about this a lot, how much I loved Resident Evil 7, because when I played that game and looked at the house, I'm like, I feel like I'm in an actual house. That sounds weird. I've never grown up in a very pretty house, so whenever I see all these pretty houses in video games, it's always weird. I don't feel like I'm in a house. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like I'm in a house. It's weird. And that's that's my Resident Evil 7 house.
I remember the first time you mentioned it, and I was like, oh, yes! But there's, like, and I've told you this before, I really desperately want to write a story based on your house. And there's, like, a couple of different visuals specifically that I get such... it's a creepy vibe, but it's kind of a really cool creepy vibe. It's not like a, I'm scared of this. It's like a, wow, that's really nice kind of a thing. Yeah, like, I mean, it helps that you're super into horror, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, do you want to tell the story about how that happened?
Me being in a horror? Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I was 5, and I was at my cousin's in North Carolina.
I live there.
Yeah, not a fan. Sorry, all the North Carolinians.
You're fine. I'm not a fan of it.
But my cousin and was my age, or well, there's 2 cousins. It was him and his brother, and I have 3 cousins. I have a sister too. Sorry, but so it was the little cousin and the older brother cousin. So me and my little cousin were playing, and then the older brother cousin was like, "Hey, you want to see something cool?" So he brings us in his room, and he turns the lights off, and we get to watch him play Resident Evil on the PlayStation as a 5-year-old. And now I love horror because of it, apparently. I mean, it terrified me to all heck. The zombie scene is forever in my brain, but it's great. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I remember one of the reasons why I never watched horror movies or never thought I liked horror movies or whatever was when I was a kid. I don't even remember how old I was, but I was super young. And we were at my mom's aunt's house. And I remember it was like Christmas or something. Because I remember feeling like, why are you watching this? Like, it's not even like, it's not Halloween kind of a thing. One of my older cousins was watching, like, out in the open, in the living room, with a bunch of little kids around. One of my older cousins was watching one of the original, like one of the old Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And that, like, super scarred me.
I
Nice.
mean, I'm the person who like watched and loved Beetlejuice as a kid and stuff like that, like weird, like really scarring, like scary shit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that didn't really phase me any, and things like A Bug's Life and fucking Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars and
No, dude.
Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island and Fern Gully were the things that scared the shit out of me.
I was the same way though. Like I don't like sometimes I think back on like if you're just joining us, you can listen to episode 2 of this podcast where we talk about this exact thing. But yeah, like some stuff I look back on and it's like, no, totally, I understand exactly why I was afraid of that. But other things, it's like, okay, so this thing that, like, I think I told you about, there was this show, and I don't know if you've ever even heard of it yourself, Jen, but there was this show when I was a kid called Ghostwriter, and it was like these kids, and from what I remember, like, it was like this after-school kind of program that they were in at the library, and there was this little, like, ball of light that was this ghost that would, like, help them tell stories or whatever, and there was this, one of the last episodes, if I recall, this was this episode where, like, one of the kids wanted to enter a writing competition. So he decides to write a horror story based on this really gross purple raisin looking like doll that one of the kids has called Gooey Gus. And like and the whole episode is the story that is being written, and it is horrifying. Like there's a lot about it that was like, and I remember being like, oh, okay, like, kind of skittish about it when I was a kid, but I thought it was so cool, and I have such fond memories of this episode. Like, no joke, the very first fan fiction I ever wrote, I was in 3rd grade, and I wrote my own Gooey Gus fan story. Like,
that's great.
That's how much I loved this character and everything. And then I randomly found a gif of it on Twitter. Like, I forget what I searched, but it sure as hell wasn't anything like that, and it was one of the things that popped up, and I got so excited about it. So me with my nostalgia goggles, I'm like, oh, let me Google this. So I Google, like, Gooey Gus or whatever. I forgot his name and thought it was Goopy Gus. So I Google search it, and all of the shit that pops up is, like, stuff about things that scarred you for life as a child. And, like, all of these people talking about how horrified they were when they were a kid watching it. And I'm like, oh, am I the only person that, like, remembers this as a positive? But, like, that shit was A-okay. Tales from the Crypt was A-okay. But, like, a fucking Beatles song scars me for life.
I watched Are You Afraid of the Dark?
They're making a movie!
I know, I know, and I cannot wait.
I mean, I didn't have cable as a kid, so I never got to see Are You Afraid of the Dark? And for those of you playing at home, one of the most adorable things that Jen has ever done was we were hanging out in the basement, like, working on some stuff, and we were watching stuff as we're working, and Jen brings up Are You Afraid of the Dark? And I was like, oh, I've never seen it. And she just looks at me, she's like, oh, and she puts it on immediately, and we just start watching it. And one of my favorite things was during the first episode, like, a really horrifying thing happens that I was like, really? They did this in a kid's show? And you were like, yeah, this is a kid's show.
Yeah, it's the first episode's about Bozo the Clown.
About the first episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Hey, was it the first episode? I'm thinking about the one with the cab ride.
That's like the second.
Yeah, it's the second one.
So
but I mean, that one's also
episode.
like,
that one's also real scary.
it is, yeah.
But yeah, like I remember, and this was last year, so I was 30 years old the first time I saw this show, and I was like, oh man, I love this. And then I got really sad that I never got to see it as a kid, because I would have loved it.
I was super into like the Goosebumps series and stuff. My favorite Goosebumps story and Goosebumps episode will always and forever be the Werewolf of Fever Swamp.
I'm fine coining always and for B.
Always and for B.
Yep, always and for B. But yeah, they like mostly because the main character's name is my middle name, so.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
See, Goosebumps I missed out on because it was just never on during hours I would catch TV.
Did you read any of the books?
Yeah, I did. And that's why I was always sad I missed out on it. Now I feel like that age difference where I'm like, it's so outdated. Because what's beautiful about Are You Afraid of the Dark is like, it has some corny moments. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't, but it's actually aged pretty well. If you just remind yourself cell phones didn't exist when it was around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, and like, R.L. Stine is one of my heroes. Like, I loved Goosebumps like nobody's business when I was a kid. Like, watching Are You Afraid of the Dark, even now, and we had that, like, movie night thing where we watched a bunch of the old Goosebumps episodes. I have no problem saying that I firmly believe Are You Afraid of the Dark was a superior show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Like,
it was. It had a better production value.
Yeah. And also, like, it felt like adults could enjoy it, whereas Goosebumps really feels more like it follows kid lingo.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one episode of Goosebumps that is probably the dumbest and cheesiest fucking thing I've ever seen. And it's not really based on a book. It's based on an anthology, but
what is it?
I don't remember what the name of it is, but it's the episode where like the aunt comes and gives them prunes and makes them old so that she can sell them off to these two old ladies.
I remember that one.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know, like, even as a kid, like, I loved those books so much, but none of them ever actually scared me.
Yeah, it felt like, it almost felt like just
Night
like
of the Living Dummy.
Really?
Yeah, that scared the fuck out of me. I hate ventriloquist dummies.
I mean, yeah, if you got like a fear of dolls, like, yeah, I could see it.
Yeah. I mean, a bit of trivia, the book that I was reading at the time that tube of glitter exploded when I was a kid, that the glitter got in the book spine and I never finished the book was it wasn't the original Goosebumps series, it was Goosebumps 2000, and it was one of the Night of the Living Dummy books.
Ugh.
They did Goosebumps 2000?
Yeah, like it was like it was still a kid's thing, but it was like more of like
kind of updated. Yeah,
because he had like the Fear Street novels that were more for like teenagers and like
well, I think that's what was always so charming about Goosebumps, is that it was able to bring that kind of genre to kids. Because think about horror is like catering it in a way where you're not like completely scarred or too like young for it can be difficult.
I will say this though, my favorite Goosebumps book, and part of the reason it's my favorite is because it was the only one that creeped me out a bit, was it was actually #1 in the series, Welcome to Dead House, and I remember being very pleasantly surprised by how creeped out, like the entire story I wasn't creeped out, I was just like, yeah, okay. This is what's going on. This is like your typical fare for a Goosebumps book. And I forget exactly what it was about the end of the book, but there was like a specific sentence at the end of the book that it was like, oh, this isn't over. This is going to continue, kind of a thing that I went, what? And I had been reading it every night before bed, and I remember like reading it as I was about to go to sleep, and I read that sentence and I was like, oh, I see what you did there.
I think Welcome to Dead House was my favorite as a kid, but I don't really remember. I remember it was a book about a spooky house. Was one of them. Like, it wasn't any sort of weird thing. But, yeah, he always had very charming twists.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing for me is that, like, I don't know. I loved the Goosebumps books a lot as a kid, but it was more the very few books, and there were very, very few of them that didn't end in some sort of, like, positive resolution.
Yeah.
Those were always my favorites.
Yeah.
Where, like, bad shit happens and bad shit remains is... I loved those.
Like, Scariest Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Yeah, kinda.
I mean, honestly, I had never even heard of that series when I was a kid. I stumbled onto it as an adult. Because when I got my very first Kindle account on my old laptop, it came with a couple of free books, and one of those was one of them.
Yeah.
And I remember going like, oh, cool, like, let me read this. And I remember being, like, super disappointed in it, and I was like, this story doesn't even make sense. How is this even remotely scary? Because I had no idea that these were supposed to be kids' books. And then when I found out later, like, oh, by the way, these were horror books for children, I immediately was like, oh my god, like, I can imagine a kid reading this and being scarred for life.
The Scarecrow!
That was me, I read it.
It was me. I read
the Scarecrow. The Scarecrow has always been my favorite from Scary Stories.
So
the fucking Herald or whatever.
So unfortunately, a lot of the readings that as a kid I don't really remember anymore because of the brain damage. Yeah. But I always remembered the art, because like that's the thing about Scary Stories in the Dark that really made it stand out was the artwork.
Oh, I love the artwork.
Yeah.
We're eventually gonna have to talk about that movie.
I mean,
that's a thing.
It's not out yet, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it just came out like last week, I think, or this week.
And it's in theaters, right?
Yeah.
No.
It should be still in theaters.
Well, if you go on a Tuesday day to an AMC theater, it's $5 Tuesdays, so.
Interesting. I don't think I have any that I can easily get to. Yeah.
But yeah, the we're eventually gonna have to talk about Scary Stories telling dark, because it's I'm excited. It's I haven't actually seen it, but I've watched one of those like ending explains where they talk about everything that goes on in the movie, and I want to watch it.
I just really like the makeup.
Oh, they sprung for like practical effects for everything in that movie.
Yeah.
Did they?
Everything is practical. Yeah, all the monsters. There's no CGI.
Wait, there's no
practical.
CGI.
There's
funny
really
because I saw a whole
yeah.
thread complaining about the CGI in that movie.
I think they said that the only thing that was CGI was like the spiders during the red spot. Everything else, they tried to do as much like practical effects as they humanly possibly could.
The red spot was the one that terrified me as a kid, and I'm fine with bugs, but it's more so just things exploding out of you is terrifying.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as far as like people complaining about stuff that isn't actually a thing, when Mad Max Fury Road came out, I saw a lot of people complaining about the CGI, and it's like, you do realize that there was no CGI and they actually exploded a bunch of shit, right? Like, that's how they filmed this movie. So, I don't know what movie you watched.
Old man yells at cloud.
The jangly man in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is a contortionist in makeup. Like the whole thing, it's all a contortionist in makeup.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. They did as many like practical effects as they possibly could, and I mean it shows, and it makes things a lot more real and scary.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was one of the things I loved about the first Silent Hill movie. And like, yeah, here's the thing. The Silent Hill movie, like, I don't even acknowledge that the second one existed. It was so awful.
What second one?
Exactly.
It's like me with the Alien series.
Yeah. But like, there were things about the first one that irked me as a fan, and like I wish that they had done differently. But overall, I felt that they did a good job with it. Like,
yeah, I agree.
You know, like there were more things that I enjoyed about it than pissed me off. So I was like, all right. I mean, it's watchable. It's not like it's my favorite horror movie, but it's all right. I like it. But like, shit, there was a reason I brought this up. Fuck, what were we talking about?
Practical effects.
Practical effects.
That's what we were literally talking about. Like,
yeah, we were talking about practical effects and CGI.
No, there was something somebody said. Fuck. No. Hang on. Okay, I'll.
Derailed your train of thought.
I did. Fuck. My brain hates me.
We talked about Mad Max. Okay.
That's what I was talking about. Because, like, you guys were talking about, like, the contortionist and everything. One of the things that I super appreciated that they did with, at least the first one, was, like, the nurses were all dancers. So, like, those, like, really jerky movements that they did, like, it just felt so much more... Obviously not natural, because, like, people aren't supposed to naturally move like that, but it felt so much more authentic and creepy, and, you know, because they got dancers to do it. And I think for the Grey Children, they also got contortionists, but I don't remember exactly. But yeah, like, I loved the fact that they got dancers to be the nurses.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I really like it when they decide to go like practical effects on things, especially because it's I mean of course they would, because it's Guillermo del Toro and he loves practical effects, but like
that's even better that he worked on it.
Yeah, I appreciate practical effects like a lot. As someone who like enjoys making monsters and doing Halloween makeup and shit, like I appreciate practical makeup a lot. Like,
well, that's funny, because from the other perspective, you know, I majored in CGI, so like I actually, like, most people complain about CGI, I'm ready to shut them down.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I get, like, sometimes it can be a little overkill, but, you know, for the most part, I just don't understand people. Is
Sentiment of the century.
I just don't. Speaking of horror movies, other than The Snowman, what's your favorite horror movie, Jen?
Oh boy, what can compare to The Snowman, though? Movie's a little rougher to...
Yeah. I was just gonna say, for those of you playing at home, when I showed The Snowman to Jen and Luke, several times Jen looked at me like I had, like, killed someone in front of her. I was like, I thought you liked us. Why are you doing this to us?
Yeah, horror movies are hard because I feel like a lot of times horror movies are about, like, how much can we explore the suffering of the characters involved here? Because I like to know, why is the creepy thing there? What is the creepy thing? Tell me more about this mystery. That's just me personally. I liked A Haunting in Connecticut. I thought it was really good.
My favorite horror movie is Grave Encounters.
Fuck you.
Oof. We about to watch a fight.
Yes. A fight as, like, of mustard versus ketchup proportions. I can't.
I'm sorry.
I don't think you are.
I'm still sorry about Grave Encounters. I'm sorry I ruined that for you.
Because, you know, like, I still love it. I still have a soft spot for it. But, like, anytime it gets brought up in conversation, I just hear your voice in my head saying all that shit, and it's like, God damn it. I guess I need a new favorite horror movie.
I mean, I'm also in the same boat, though. I don't really know what my favorite horror movie would be. I know my least favorite horror movie is The Bye Bye Man.
Oh my god, I watched that. It was awful.
My brother, I only ever saw like a YouTube review of it that made me crack up.
Do you know why The Bye Bye Man is just a failure in every single way? Do you know the problem is? You set up a creepy thing, the Bye Bye Man. The Bye Bye Man, though, has a weakness, because he vanished. At some point, people forgot about him, right? So he has a weakness where people forget. So you're on this journey to find that, and the main character is like, oh, this is it! And the woman he hears it from is like, well, not really, but sure, roll with it, kid. When it really isn't, the kid tries to roll with it. It clearly doesn't work, and really just, it's like, why did you introduce this concept to us if you were not even going to utilize it? What are you doing?
Honestly, though, okay, so, like, other than the second Silent Hill movie, because, and the reason why I don't list it as my least favorite is because, in the interest of fairness, as much as I hated what I did see, I didn't sit down and watch the whole thing. I couldn't. So
Silent Hill 2?
Yeah.
Same. I cut out when she got the gun, missed, and then the gun ran out of bullets, and I'm like, you're useless.
No, honestly, though. Like,
that was when I cut out. I was like, I can't do this.
There's so much. Like, I was lucky that Serendipity was on TV the same night, because I had also never seen Serendipity, and I was like, this was always on my list of movies I wanted to watch, so I'm gonna stick with this. But during a commercial break, I switched back to Silent Hill 2 to be like, I don't know, maybe it got better as the movie went along.
It doesn't.
And it's the scene, it doesn't. And it's the scene where, like, I'm not proud of how angry I got, and let me be very clear about that to begin with. So, like,
well, Heather Mason's like your hero, so really it was just like
Mason
watching a murder.
Yes, Heather Mason is my favorite horror game protagonist. Like, yeah, like, I love her. She's my favorite horror game protagonist. But, like, it was the scene where she and Vincent are driving to Silent Hill, and she's looking through Harry's journal, and she comes on to the page with Pyramid Head, and she's like, and this was the protector of God. I had to stop myself from throwing the remote at the TV. I got so mad, because I was like, you don't have the money to replace this TV if you do that. But I got so angry, and I was like, that's Baltier! Screaming at the TV. And I'm like, you know what? I picked the perfect movie tonight. Let me go back to Serendipity. Like, John Cusack will make me feel better.
I just, so I don't really follow celebrity names, but do you know who played Vincent in that? Kit Harington.
Holy shit, really?
I don't know how that didn't ruin his career. Yes, that's Kit Harington as Vincent.
No, well, now I love him as Jon Snow, so now I can't be angry at him anymore.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, how memorable was that movie that nobody remembered that?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so like, I don't count that as my least favorite horror movie.
Well, because you didn't see the whole thing, so I get it.
Exactly. So, in the interest of fairness, I can't, as much as I hate what I did see, I don't want to list that.
Yeah.
My least favorite horror movie, and the reason I brought this up at all, is because you were saying that there were things that they introduced in the Bye Bye Man that it's like, why would you do that when it's like it doesn't work and we're never gonna revisit this.
Yeah.
So, I'm a huge Marble Hornets fan. Like, a huge Marble Hornets fan. Deacon's laughing because I hold the record for the longest episode of Drunk Fandom. It's over 4 hours.
I was there.
Oh my god. Oh, this is perfect because Deacon edits Drunk Fandom, and I explained Marble Hornets to Jen, so all three of us were there. So, like, to be fair, even in my drunken state, I started to panic almost immediately as we started recording, because I was like, it's just too intensive. I've bit off way more than I can chew with this, but that's
okay. We both survived.
Yes. So I'm a big Marble Hornets fan. So when they were like, "Oh, hey, there's a Marble Hornets movie coming out," my friends and I were like, "Yeah, this is gonna be great." So we watched it, and like, the first time I saw it, I was kind of like, I mean, I guess it's okay, because like I really, really wanted to like the movie, but the more I thought about it, the more I hated it, and like. And then I saw somebody else's review of it where literally they pointed out everything that I had a problem with. Like, and they were like, yeah, why did this happen? And I was like, oh, good. It's not just me. Like, I felt like, because everybody else was like, I don't know, I like it, or it's okay. I felt like maybe I was just being too hard on it because I love the core material so much. But like, one of the things that drives me crazy about the movie is the movie opens up with these two characters. I don't even think we know their names. They're these just two random people who are running. And they're running away and they're like, oh my god, is he there? What's going on? And they die, and the whole point is like to prove that the situation is serious. We don't know who these people are. They have no bearing on the story. They're never mentioned again. They're like, it's like, why is this here? Like, do you even understand how found footage movies work? Like, this footage would not be with the other footage that you found to begin with. And even if it was, like, why would you bring this up when all of this other shit is happening? You know, plus the main characters aren't likable, even remotely. Like, I don't care what happens to them.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
See,
like, they're all super unlikable in some way or another.
Because my least favorite horror movie is Open House, a Netflix original. And these people getting money for this just gives me a little bit more confidence if I were to ever pitch something to Netflix. I rarely insult things. I know I just insulted the Bye Bye Man, but like, My
brother desperately wants to watch it. He saw it.
Please don't.
Like, oh,
please don't.
He was like, the Bye Bye Man? This sounds awful.
Oh, I think about Open House. Okay, Bye Bye Man, here's the thing. As like, I have a very simple way of rating stuff I watch or play or listen to. It's either, do I want the time I spent doing this thing back or not? If I don't, it was pretty good. You know, it was alright. I watched it, I experienced it, cool. If I want that time back, something's gone wrong. I don't know what happened, but I just really wish I never experienced it. And that was me with Open House. And I'm just going to talk about it because really, this is not a movie you don't want spoilers for, unless you plan on doing a review, but you're still gonna waste your time.
I'll put timestamps in the description. Spoiler alert starts now.
Really, it's gonna be really short because Open House has no substance to it at all. It's about this kid and his mom, and it opens up. Well, I'm sorry, he has a dad in the beginning, but the dad gets killed. So dad dies. They're really sad. Her sister is like, you know what? You need some time away. Go hang out in my vacation home I'm trying to sell, because I'm rich and terrible. So they go stay at her house to, I guess, get away from it all. I don't know. But they have to be out of the house for 5 hours a day because she's selling it. So that's when it's an open house. Oh, movie title. So, I don't know how you're supposed to relax in that, but whatever. I guess they choose to do that. So, you know, the kid makes this comment in the beginning. Like, the movie starts out really promising. The kid makes this comment, like, that's kind of weird. You just let people wander around the house. Like, you know, what if someone decided not to leave? Spoiler alert. So throughout the movie, all they do is tension build. But nothing happens, right? Mm-hmm. There's one scene where I'm literally like, you should be able to tell right now someone's in your goddamn house. And it's the kid gets a phone call. It's a wide shot of the living room. You can see the living room. You can see the door to the basement, and you can see the stairs upstairs, right? It's this wide shot. He's on the phone, like, hello? And then he looks at it, and he's like, that's weird. And he picks it, and he's like, hello? And he's looking around. We don't know why he's confused. But he's walking around like, hello? Like, and then he kind of, like, is like, huh. And then the mom comes back, and she had gone to the bathroom. She's like, what's up? And he's like, oh, it's weird. You know, I got a phone call, but I could hear myself. And I'm like, someone has another phone in the house, kid. Are you kidding me? That's why you can hear yourself. Someone's there with you. What? And in the shot, he never looks at the basement door, but you can see shoes there. And I'm just, like, staring at this, like, you look around, like everywhere but this basement door that's open.
Well, yeah, there was that one scene in The Snowman that, like, when she's on the phone with her husband, who at this point she thinks actually did call her in missing, and she's like, why would you do that? You know what I'm talking about. Don't lie. And, like, in the background, clear as day, you see somebody who is obviously the killer, but you see somebody, like, move into the room, and it's like, you're not that far away from where she's standing. There's no way that she would not be able to notice this.
Isn't there also hay and stuff, because it's like a barn?
No, this is when she went back into the house.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember.
Yeah, but, like, yeah.
No, so, which, by the way, this scene that I'm mad about is the most interesting scene in the entire movie. Because it has some beautiful tension, like, where you're just like, he's standing there, you know something's up. Like, it was actually, like, really neat. But this is, like, where it starts to fall, because I'm like, nothing happens still. But then it's like, nothing happens in this film. And this entire time, they keep referencing the basement, because for some reason, the basement has a tunnel that's collapsed. Somehow they're still selling this house, but okay. So, they constantly reference this collapsed tunnel in the basement, where, like, they always show them kind of walking up to it, like, I swear I heard something over here. That's strange. Okay, whatever. So, in case you didn't realize from the kid's spoiler, someone's obviously in the house. I mentioned it with the basement door. All this guy does is moves a bowl of cereal, keeps turning off the hot water, and yeah, that's it.
I mean, I would.
Oh, makes the phone call. He makes the phone call.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all he does in this entire film. Finally, you get to the last 15, 20 minutes of this hour-and-a-half nightmare. Which the entire time the kid and his mom are arguing over dumb shit, because why not, I guess. Nothing else is happening in this movie, right? Oh, I remember. He does one other thing where he, like, takes a photo where the dad's in it, but he, like, draws all over the dad, and for some reason the kid thinks the mom did it, so they're fighting. I don't know. It's... Anyway, so, like... So, at the end of this film, right, she met some guy during it, and he's crashing over at the house because, oh, I remember, they come home, and dinner is set on the table. So finally they're like, is someone here? So they call the cops supposedly look around and find nobody. And then she's like, you know, she calls this guy she met, can you come stay here? I'm a little nervous because someone for some reason made dinner at our table. Also weird. So that's when whoever made this film decides, alright, time to drop everything, and now we're a Saw movie. And the mom gets tied up and traumatized, and the son's glasses are taken so he can't fucking see it all, and he has to try and help her, and, you know, he finally gets the guts to get a knife, ends up stabbing her on accident. It's this entire, like, disaster where I don't know what's going on. It's 20 minutes of screaming, spooky, serial killer nightmare bonanza. The guy who was called to stay over the night is dead immediately. He does absolutely nothing.
Cool.
I think he's the first one to get killed, because the kid's looking for him, and he's out in the car dead. But, you know, so the kid kills the mom on accident, turning the corner to that collapsed tunnel that I mentioned, because he thinks the serial killer's there, so he runs knife first. I don't know why. And then he runs out into the woods and dies, because he gets caught. And that's the movie. And then at the end of the movie, you never see the serial killer's face, but you see his shoes, he walks into the car, leaves, and you see him drive to another open house. And it's like, guess what? It was a serial killer movie all along. He's the open house killer!
Yay!
And that's the movie.
I mean, wow.
Thanks, I hate it.
I saved you an hour and a half. You're welcome.
Bless. Just because I'd like to end off on a positive note. Now
I did rant for quite a bit there.
No, it's fine. No, like, because because I don't like tearing things apart, but some things are just so bad.
Very bad.
So, like, I would like, my question for both of you would be, is there specifically horror, but it doesn't necessarily have to be horror, just because of the theming of our show.
It should be horror. I'm ready for this horror question.
It should be horror.
Right, yeah.
So, actually, 2 questions.
Okay.
One, like, is tension, like, in your opinion, because I know that this is kind of a big thing in the horror community, like, arguing over this, like, how important do you think tension is? And number 2, the original question I was going to ask was, is there a horror movie that you were convinced was going to be terrible that you wound up loving? Even if it wasn't, like, a really good movie, just something that you wound up really liking when you thought it was going to be the most awful thing you've ever seen.
Does a video game count?
Yeah, you could go for a video game.
So, first off, to me, I'm not a film director, obviously, but I did go to school for video games, and I love video games, so I feel like I can comment the most on that. And tension building, without that, there's nothing to be afraid of, I feel like. I mean, it's very easy to have something jump out at you. And don't get me wrong, I actually like jump scares. The Ring, I know this is controversial, but The Ring is actually, I really enjoy The Ring a lot. And that has some of the biggest jump scares with the Ring sound and, but to me, The Ring actually is an example of it done really well, because it's not too repetitious, it's not, too outlandish. I think it's done very well, so I think there's ways to have jump scares and be okay, but if you're not making your player tense, like in the Resident Evil 2 remake, where you constantly hear the stomping boots of Mr. X chasing you, and you know he's close, but you don't know where he is, like, that is terror, it's intense. You're like, you're building up that pressure. So, like, that, and to me, being able to build tension is the best part of horror. Like, you may not necessarily like being scared, but being tense, it's a very exciting feeling. Like, it's one of those feelings that makes you feel alive. Like, you're tensed by something, like something isn't right. You don't know what, and you're worried how it's gonna end. So I think it's very essential in the building blocks of horror.
Yeah, it makes you shiver with anticipation.
See what you did there?
I mean, yeah. No, I totally agree. Like, one of my favorite things in horror is suspense. I love, not just as somebody who makes horror, but as somebody who just really loves the genre. It's like, I always feel like the things that really make me sit on those uncomfortable feelings are the things that I wind up remembering the most. Like, because, there's absolutely a place for, I don't even remember what the word is offhand, like, not jump scares, but things of that ilk. There's obviously a place for it, and, there should be some release at some point, but for me, the things that I love the most are the things that kind of, like, make me really sit with that knot in my stomach for a little bit. Like, no, we're gonna get there, but you're gonna have to deal with this for a little bit first.
Yeah. I'm gonna make you work for it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But as for something that I, didn't think I'd care for, or, I kind of bought because I'm like, it'll be bad in, a fun way, that ended up being my favorite horror game. Well, I mean, now it contends with the Resident Evil 2 remake, but
yeah.
Until Dawn is a really underrated horror game.
Yes.
Where it really sold itself as, oh look, it's campy slasher fun with your 8 friends hanging out in a cabin in the woods, but
it's just a prank hand.
It's just a prank hand. I've watched that game so many yeah, basically. I've watched that game so many times. I love it.
I bought it for the sole purpose of having my brother play it on stream, and he was so gung-ho when I first got it, and it's been sitting in the shrink wrap on my shelf, since I bought it, basically 2 years ago now.
I'd still watch it.
I need him to do this.
I only wanted to play Until Dawn so that I could kill Emily.
That's fair. She's literally the worst. Like, that's fair.
Because I watched a playthrough of people playing it where they like everybody survived, and I was like, nah, I need to go through so I can kill Emily and just have her be the only person who dies.
I mean, listen, if I'm ever watching, this goes for anybody. If I wind up hanging out with you, and you're playing Until Dawn, and I casually ask for the controller at some point, and you want to save everybody, don't hand me that controller, because the only reason I'm asking for it is to make sure that Emily falls into a wood chipper.
Yeah. I hate Emily so much.
I was upset because our first playthrough, like, 2 characters we liked died, and I was like... Actually, 3... Was it? Wait. No, it was 2, because I remember we got the trophy for all the boys surviving, so it was 2.
Yeah. My favorite character is Chris.
Yeah.
But I love Chris so much.
No, he's great.
But I also like...
he's cool, but he's kind of a dick.
Well, King Dick ends up well, it depends on how you play him, right? Because he can be.
Yeah.
Like, you can choose all the options where you put yourself first, and then guess who's a dick?
Yeah, I mean, in my defense, the first playthrough I ever saw, he was the best of boys.
Well, I mean, mostly that he just like straight up gaslights Ashley for a little bit there with the ghost.
I don't remember that.
I don't know if I'd call it gaslighting, but he definitely was kind of like...
He
was downplaying like her emotions for sure.
Yeah.
And she's freaking the hell out because they just had the like Ouija board session, and they're like,
yeah. Also, Alex was her name, right? Hayden Panettiere's character.
No, Sam.
Sam.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like her too.
But yeah, also they're making another game. It's a
I know.
co-op game
We're I'm sad because we have to choose between that and the Blair Witch games. We chose that game because I just love that studio so much. As much as I love both, but
I'm probably gonna end up buying Blair Witch.
Yeah, it's called Man from Medine. I figure we should actually say what the game's called.
Yeah.
I'm so excited because their new business model is they're doing 2 games a year, and they're each going to be these anthology one-time horror, like one-shot games, basically, like Until Dawn.
Yeah.
Right. So this one's called Man from Medine. So I'm like really excited because, they just do such amazing work. I have to admit, like Hidden Agenda, like has me in a sour spot. I still need to finish it, but now I need fresh eyes to finish it after what happened. For anyone who has not played Hidden Agenda and wants to, if you get game over, any point before the game is over, they do spoil who the serial killer is for you. So don't watch the cutscene that comes after you fail, because we learned that on stream.
Quick detour if you wanted to play that for your birthday. I watched the stream when you guys streamed it, but it was so long ago that I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I'm worried if I start playing, I'll remember when I see his face, because I don't really remember anymore because it's been so long. But yeah.
I didn't get to watch that stream, so
I know it's so good.
But yeah, like I like that they're doing a new game. It looks neat, and I really do want to get like Blair Witch, and I kind of also want to get the Man from Medine or whatever.
I didn't even know that Blair Witch was going to be a thing.
Yeah, so at E3 this year they announced that there was going to be a Blair Witch game, and it looks really cool. I will send you the thing after we get done. To answer your other question, by the way, The Langoliers. I went into that movie thinking it was going to be awful, and I kind of actually enjoyed that movie.
I don't share your feelings on that. For mine, very quickly, I would say You're Next. I thought when I saw all of the coming attractions and everything, I was like, that looks so silly. Like, I don't think I'll like it. And then I got a phone call one night from my buddy Ariel, and she's like, hey, Kat and I are going to the movies. Do you want to come with us? And I was like, yeah, sure. What are you going to see? And she was like, we're seeing You're Next. So it's like, oh, I guess I'm seeing this movie now. And and I went and I watched it. And I mean, I think I don't want to say that it heavily contributed, because I feel like it detracts from the movie. I really liked the movie. I was very pleasantly surprised by it, but I think one of the reasons why I liked it as much as I did was because when we went to go see it, there was there was a row of teenagers behind us that were that had either never seen horror movies before, or they were very new to the genre, so they were reacting to everything. And I remember very specifically this one part where, if you've ever seen a horror movie ever, you knew what was gonna happen. They put, quick spoiler, they put, the mother, an older lady, into a room so she could rest. And they're like, okay, and this is when all of the horrible shit is happening. So they put her in the room and they close her in the room, and I start grinning because I'm like, oh, I can't wait to hear what these kids are gonna say when this happens. And sure enough, you start to see a hand come out from behind the bed, and you see a guy slowly crawling out. And there were a couple of kids behind us that were just freaking out, oh no, oh no, oh no! And I made eye contact with one of them, and we both just started laughing our asses off. And it was great. It was a great movie-going experience.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, yes. With that, I think that's about all the time that we've got for this episode. But we wanted to thank you so much for joining us, Jen.
Oh, thanks for having me.
It was wonderful having you.
This was so much fun.
Yeah, I got to rant. I got to talk about childhood traumas. It's a good time. It's great. It's what the show's about, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Before we cut out, we wanted to take a moment to thank our wonderful friends. And you get to actually hear this time. So
yeah. We would like to take a moment to thank you.
Yeah. And Luke for hosting us on your website. Thank you so much. We appreciate it immensely. You can go find them at fierceferrets.com, or they're live just about every day on twitch.tv/fierceferrets. Super glad I didn't fuck that up while you were on here.
Yeah,
I'm so proud.
So proud of you. Yeah.
But also they're Fierce Ferrets on everything.
It's true.
On
you can find us on the Google.
Medias.
On the Google.
Yeah. But thank you so much for hosting us. You can catch all three of us on Tuesdays on Last Light. I play Zrix, and Jack is Reese, and Jen here plays Lemon, our wonderful...
Not a con artist.
Not a con artist.
Yeah, Lemon, who, if not for Lemon, Reese might have bit the dust this past session.
But yeah, we play in that every Tuesday, and you can catch the podcast later. I still gotta get the last 2 episodes edited, but we'll get there. And Drunk Fandom, which will be back soon, TM.
Yes.
Sometime this year.
Yes.
But yeah, so thank you so much, and we hope that you go check out our other wonderful projects that we're in. But yeah.
You can also find us on social media. We have a Twitter account and an Instagram account. The handle is the same for both. It's at the COTV podcast. You can follow us there for updates, for silly memes. One got posted today. And also, you can let us know if you have any ideas for episodes, because there's only so much that we can think of on our own. In addition to that, you can join our exclusive Discord if you become a patron of ours on Patreon. The $5 tiers and up allow you access into our Discord, and there's also a specific channel dedicated to ideas and stuff that you want to pitch to the show, and we hope to see you there and hang out with you there. And yeah, there's another perk that people in the $5 tier and up get, and that is hearing their name read out at the end of every episode.
Yeah, so with that, thank you to our wonderful patrons, Brandonson, Gerda, and oh my god, who is it? It's the Fierce Ferrets.
That's
Thank you
us.
guys for the support. We appreciate it. I still have to get you the business cards.
Eventually,
Yes.
it'll happen.
Eventually it'll happen. But yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for continuing to support us. We very much appreciate it. My dog is very unhappy.
Well, because I became a guest before she did, so.
Yeah. Aww. It's okay. Daisy
yes.
says hi.
But yeah, we very much appreciate your support and helping us keep doing this. And here's to another year.
Here's to another year for one of the best podcasts out there.
Aw, Jen.
But with that, I think that's pretty much all of our various sundry announcements. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and thank you again for joining us, Jen. And until the next episode, sweet dreams.
Bye.
Stay salty.